So I had two people today respond to an email that I had sent them, which was an email suggesting that we speak on the phone or in video conference. Both of them responded saying, essentially, I would love to, but there's no way that I could afford your coaching, and so I don't want to waste your time, or maybe we should speak later. And I just said to both of them, well, we really need to speak because of the way that you've responded to this email. I can see how you're creating an obstacle for yourself. And I haven't told them this yet. I'll tell them when we speak, but I'm going to tell you right now how important it is to not show up that way, to not look at somebody's offer to spend time with you and think to yourself, I can't afford them, therefore I shouldn't take the action of speaking with them, and I don't want to waste their time. Why is it so important that you don't show up that way? Because when you think that way, when you think that if I were to do this, it would step on their toes and take up their time, you live from a perspective that says, my actions are what determine how another person feels. And if you live in the way that what you do and your willingness to say yes to an offer can be taking advantage of another person, then you live with that in you in the reverse too. That means that other people can take advantage of my time. And you don't want to live with that because that means that you're giving other people the power over your state of being and over your time. Nobody can take my time. It's impossible for anybody to take my time. Why is that? Because I decide how to use my time. Nobody can take advantage of me. Why is that? Because I don't let anybody. I don't accommodate that. And if somebody were to steal money from my wallet when I wasn't looking, I wouldn't resist that internally in such a way where it creates frustration. How do I know that's true? I've been robbed. And I've chosen my experience. I had so many of my things stolen from me when I was living in a van in Prague. My expensive camera, a bunch of stuff that was really personal and important. They even took my toothbrush. And I created the experience of it being okay by choosing that it was given. I just created the idea that somebody out there needed that more than I did, and it became a gift internally, and there's no resistance, and it wasn't taken, it was given. The higher vibration of giving always trumps the lower vibration. Nobody can take from you when you're willing to give. So living from that frame means that you couldn't possibly take my time by not being able to afford it and speaking with me. Here's another reason why you don't want to show up in such a way where you say to people, I can't afford working with you. First of all, you actually create more of the energy of I can't afford it. I don't care if you're acknowledging a circumstance of particular resources that seems to exist. It doesn't help you to focus on it, to reflect on it in a way that has you express it because you live it. You bring it forward. I would rather you be looking at there being no money in the bank and saying I can afford it and allowing the circumstances to rise to meet the thinking. That's the first thing. The other reason is you don't really have any idea what's happening out there in that world. You might think, oh, this person only has these coaching programs or these offers or whatever the thing is. This car might be selling for this price, therefore I won't bother asking because I can't afford it. The world says X to you and you think X is the case and therefore I don't have X, so I guess I'll just walk over here, and then you miss out. Just because somebody says something about what's available doesn't mean that's the only situation. The person saying it might even believe that's the only thing that's available, but they haven't met you yet, and you haven't created with them yet. My first coach, Jarek Robbins, when I reached out, there was a waiting list, and my response to the salesperson, I wasn't even speaking to Jarek, I say, great, what needs to happen for me to be first on the list? Jarek liked that response, and suddenly I was one of his coaching clients. Skip the whole list. Because the circumstances aren't going to dictate how I respond and how I show up with my time. If they do, then I live in effect to them. So I'm interested in what people have to say, but only so I can use that as a pivot and material to create with. My other coach, Rich Litvin, When I was first wanting to work with him, I couldn't afford it. And so I kept trying to get as much time from him as I could. I asked him to speak. I asked him to speak again. He emailed me, I emailed him back. And then I emailed him more. And I just so happened to be at a point in his life where he needed some cash coming in. And I was so hungry and thirsty and not willing to take no for an answer that he created a specific and private coaching program for me that I could afford at a time where I couldn't afford his fees. And so you don't know what's possible. And when you say to somebody, I can't afford you, you are saying that their reality is fixed and absolute and I'm at mercy of it. Fuck that. So I need to speak with these guys specifically because they think that it shouldn't or that they can't afford me. There's so many times that I've talked to people that thought because my coaching fees for private coaching range from like $25,000 to $100,000, they can't afford me. And then we're on the phone because I finally got them to just have the courage to have a conversation anyway. And then, wow, they discover my group coaching program. And then, wow, it's already begun, so the fees reduced. And then, wow, I can do a payment plan. And wow, suddenly, something that I thought was out of my reach, I can afford right now, and we've begun. Or they find out that, geez, I wanted coaching and I can't afford it, but suddenly the creating class seems to make a lot more sense because I heard the stories about a few of the people who joined, learned some principles, created some money, and then they were able to afford coaching. So there's so many ways, and this is just the common ways, and I'm always open to the infinite possibilities. But there is always possibility on the other side of your unwillingness to accept circumstance as fact and absolute and is the only way. So look for where in the world are you saying, I shouldn't go there, I shouldn't ask that, I don't want to take up that person's time. Look for where you're doing that and stop doing it. Because if you're doing that, then you're showing up the same exact way in creation with your own business and your own potential clients, and you're limiting your capacity to create. Today, speaking of creating, today is the perfect day for you to create who you are. I love you. You are powerful, and you can create everything and anything you want. It begins inside here and inside here. I'll talk to you soon.